When your car insurance rates are skyrocketing, how do you stop the bleeding? There are 7 discounts that we're going to talk about that can help you with your car insurance. Let's dive in. The first discount is obvious, which is every article, everyone is going to tell you to shop around. There's a time when you should and there's a time when you shouldn't. Make sure that the rate increase that you had with your current company before you shop around is not due to some sort of discount that you lost. In our state, in Michigan, and multiple states like Texas and Virginia and Ohio and all these states that we also insure, the problem that you run into is that they have so many changes. For example, in Michigan, you have to sign a renewal every single renewal for certain coverages. So if you've lowered the coverage to fit the budget, if you don't sign that renewal, the price goes right back up. It's just the way the state built it. And so those are some things that may have caused that rate increase. So before you start shopping around, let's talk to your agent, the person that you should hopefully be trusting. If you don't trust them, then don't even bother. Go shop around, find one you can trust, and figure out why that policy has gone up first. Verify the coverages are still okay. Don't necessarily fall into that trap of let's get it down because I can get it cheaper. I'll just remove all these and take this off. And if you're okay with that, that's great. But I'd rather not give up the coverages that I've built for the cost that it has to be. There's got to be, and there usually is, other companies that are more competitive. So the first way to get your price down is to check with multiple companies. I personally recommend that you work with an independent agent because independent agents shop multiple companies at once. You make one phone call, they check 6, 7, 8, 12, sometimes 30 companies at once, and you don't have to do all that legwork. They make sure the coverages are correct first, hopefully, and make sure that the prices, once the price is correct and the coverage is correct, now they take that and shop the market to find out who's got one of the better prices for you. The second way is to think about your deductible. There's 2 ways to think about your deductible. There's 2 deductibles to think about as well, and you have comprehensive and collision. Comprehensive, hit a deer, theft, vandalism, we call those acts of God. Then you have collision, which is hitting a vehicle. If you're at fault or not at fault, there's different factors that play, and those affect the rates differently. The part that you should know is that what can you afford to pay? So I see a lot of people do the $1,000 deductible, the $1,500 deductible, which I 9 times out of 10 don't recommend because honestly, $1,000 to $1,500, you notice doesn't really make a big impact on the price you pay. Doing the $1,000 deductible versus a $500 or lower deductible, those are usually the largest spans of risk. What changes is when you change those deductibles, you're saying, I'm gonna out pocket and pay some of that claim, and turn, you're going to charge me less per month. So if I have a claim, I'm just saying I'm not going to have a claim. And that's perfect. That's what insurance companies want to hear because then they can make their profit and they're happy. That deductible is going to play a difference on whether you can afford or not. So if you can't afford to pay $1,000 out of pocket, then I don't recommend you carry a $1,000 deductible. If you have an accident, once the car's fixed, a week, 2 weeks from now, I got to pay that bill. Otherwise, I can't get my car. I lost the rental car because the car is done. It's in the shop. Now I'm getting a fee for it just sitting there. There's extra costs that you can incur if you go too large of a deductible where it wouldn't make sense. The other part to think about is if you have a loan on the vehicle, some loan companies, you'll have to look at their paperwork. They may require that you don't carry $1,000 or higher. Most of them let you carry close to that $1,000. I've seen a few that require $500 or lower. So there are certain scenarios where you have to, but I'd say 8 or 9 out of 10 times, carrying that $1,000 deductible is usually okay. Wait, Mark, you didn't tell me how much I save. It's about 20 to 25%. That's usually, at least from what I've seen, the difference between having a $500 and a $1,000 deductible. So if you're paying $200 a month and it saves you $40 a month to lower that piece. Now it varies from every company, but you'll have to do the research or talk to your agent to find that out for yourself. The third way is what you'll hear from every agent is why aren't we bundling? And a lot of people don't understand that bundling isn't just about getting more business. It is, and there's a trick to it because the insurance companies actually want you to bundle not just because it raises the price, that is one of the reasons. The main reason is the more policies that you have, the more likely you're going to stay with them. If I sell you a home, an auto, an umbrella, a life policy, a medical policy, you're not going to leave me. I'm not going to leave that guy, right? Because I want to stay with them because they got it all. It's all hidden, put it in, they know me, and it's perfect. It's the way it is, but the price went up, right? So now I've got to decide, is it worth doing all that? What you're going to find is most of those companies, when you start shopping all of them, because there's not a guarantee that you're going to go with them, they do give you a little bit lower of a quality for shopping that. because they're like, oh, I can work with 20 people, sell 8 of them or 10 of them, or I can work this one person and it's a big account, but I might not actually sell it. So where do I put my time as a salesperson to fit there? I know it's unfortunate, but you got to work with an agent that is willing to do that type of shopping for you. I'll just let you know too, also, when you have something like that, and it's okay to talk to your agent, it's perfectly fine. They should be happy to speak with you. They should be happy to check prices. But if you're going to constantly do that every single year, there will become a time, just like in any relationship, if it's constant take, do this, at some level, you're going to notice that agent isn't necessarily going to want to help you as much as they used to. It's one of the unfortunate pieces of business, and no agency should ever allow that, but I would say that's probably common more often than anyone would think. Number 4 is to take a defensive driving course, and it helps a little bit. I personally don't believe that's really the answer to much, if anything, and a lot of states don't even offer it. So in Michigan or Texas or Virginia or whatever state you're in, Ohio or whatever, right? If you're going to take a defensive driving course, yeah, it's there. It can knock off 10, 20 bucks. Some states it matters a lot more than others. So what I would do before you take a driving course, call your agent, find out what it would be if you took one and got the discount for it before you take the time to pay for the course and spend several hours watching those videos online and taking those tests. Number 5 is preventative, and it's just thinking ahead of time. If I'm gonna buy a house, if I'm gonna buy a car, anything you're gonna purchase, if I'm gonna buy a nice wedding ring or whatever the case is, think of the insurance before you make the purchase. I actually had a customer just recently that was buying a new vehicle. She had 2 cars. By the time we were done talking, she ended up going to look at a 3rd car because it didn't make financial sense. She, yes, could get the car she wanted, which is honestly what I would prefer you do, but you got to be able to afford it. And the car that she liked, it was a lot less expensive, but she didn't have that car that she could look at that she wanted to be in. And so you got to find that happy medium. I could go up $20 a month, or I can go up $80 a month, or I can go up whatever the increase is by a different car, or it's time to shop around to find a car that just fits the budget for the car, but also the budget for the insurance. Same thing with homes. The budget for the home, how much am I putting down, things like that, versus how much can I afford, and how much is it worth for my pleasure to have that car or that house to get the best deal. Number 6 is making sure that you have the cleanest credit. There's no wrong way to go with that. If you can keep your credit as clean as possible, that's one thing I'm noticing that a lot of policies are doing lately. Is I've been researching, because we do renewals every time a policy renews it with our agency. We like to focus on renewing and calling and checking up on the person. Has anything changed? What's new? Here's what changed. Your price went down, your price went up. Here's why. We like to just be involved in the day-to-day on our end with the insurance. One thing I'm noticing is that the renewals are going up, not because things are changing, although inflation and all that, yes, but a lot of insurance scores, which is tied to credit, are going down. So if you have a lower insurance score, you're in a different bracket. There's multiple brackets with different companies, and you could be the best person in one bracket or the worst person in the next bracket. So depending on where you're at, that price could change based on the insurance score that you have. So keeping the credit clean always helps. Number 7 is just evaluating your entire policy, is know what coverages you have. If you are shopping around, I'll put a link in the description below. Feel free to fill out the quote and talk to an agent that can shop multiple companies. Otherwise, checking the policy that you have now, the coverages, whether you need them anymore. Same scenario happened this week as well. Someone had a coverage that was no longer valid, but the insurance company didn't have a setting to turn it off. So they're paying for something that they can never use. Having your agent every once in a while just review the policy, make sure it's clean, there's nothing that needs to be changed, helps a lot. If you want to know some other discounts that you can get on your policy, I will link a video here that goes a little bit more in depth on some additional discounts that we didn't mention. If you're still trying to figure out your insurance policy and what coverages you should carry, I'll also put my link to my Car Insurance 101 that'll go a little bit more in depth as well. I'm Mark with Think Insurance. I'll see you in the next one.